Okay, we are live with the Answering Christians 1 live stream. So let's see if there's anybody have any questions, comments. I'll put it on the screen. This is the second time I'm using what do you call it, StreamYard. So let's see if Salam alaikum. How you doing, Splash? Stream begins right now. So you got any questions, comments, etc., let me know. Got any questions or anything, I'll put it on screen, and we'll just go from there. Sorry this is done randomly, but I didn't really plan this. I didn't really plan things ahead, so I was just doing this to test out StreamYard again. So if anybody has any questions or any comments or anything like that, let me know. Let me see. Hang on. Let me see something on my channel. Just 1 second. Yep, we are live. All right, let's just wait for somebody else to say something or other people to join. Then maybe we can go from there. Hopefully. Looks like we just have one person. We have 2 people watching, but 1 person commenting. So we need more people on the thing, or we need more what do you call it, questioners or commentators on the thing. So let's just wait a little bit for maybe more people will join. I don't know. So maybe I should have announced this beforehand. Usually I just do these things randomly, but All right, let's just wait for somebody else to say something. All right, looks like it's been 2.5 minutes. Nobody's there, or 1 person's there. So I don't know. Splash says, I got a question about Yahweh. Since you have posted multiple videos on his pagan origins, do you think that Yahweh and YHWH are 2 different deities? Well, YHWH is Yahweh. Yahweh is a pagan god. So the reason why they don't say Yahweh, or it's YHWH, is because the pronunciation was lost over time. Yahweh, if you read the New Jerusalem Bible, if you read the New Jerusalem Bible, page 85, it says that Yahweh simply means he is. So how can the name of God be he is? Right? In Exodus chapter 3, verse 14, I believe the verse is, where Moses asks what God's name is. And the response God says is, I am who I am. And if you read the New Jerusalem Bible, page 85, it says Yahweh simply means, he is. So basically what God is saying is, what do you mean what my name is? Go mind your own business. That's why, God says, I am who I am. Yahweh is definitely a pagan god. I've made multiple videos about this. It was originally a Edomite or Canaanite god that the Israelites, or whoever wrote the book of Exodus, since that book is anonymous, whoever wrote the book of Exodus stole that name Yahweh from a pagan god, and that's how the name Yahweh was written all over the Bible. So, like, even if you read Genesis chapter 1, verse 1, God's name is Elohim. It later on becomes Yahweh in the book of Exodus. But notice how God's name was Elohim first, and then it evolved, or it became Yahweh. It didn't start off as Yahweh. I mean, read Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 in Hebrew. It says, in the beginning, Elohim created the heavens and the earth. It doesn't say Yahweh. So that's further proof that God's name evolved from Elohim, El, into Yah or Yahweh. YHWH is, like they don't know, they lost pronunciation as time went on. So that's why, they have those letters, but nobody knows how it's really pronounced. And the evidence is very strong that Yahweh was originally a pagan god, that that whoever wrote the Old Testament, or at least the book of Exodus, stole that name from ancient paganism. So I think that Islam is correct in not using that name, Yahweh, but that's just me, like I think the evidence is conclusive that that wasn't the original name of God, and that name is stolen from ancient paganism. But again, like I don't know, like maybe other Muslim apologists have different answers to this, but a lot of Muslim apologists don't talk about this, about the name Yahweh. Oh, it's only me and Jay, and I think Ijaz once talked about it. So like a lot of Muslims don't talk about the name of Yahweh, but I think that's an important argument to refute, because a lot of critics of Islam now are bringing up the Yahweh argument. Even though they're not the first ones to do that. Answering Islam did that, and then Jay Smith would bring up that argument with his debates on Shabir Ali, etc. So a lot of people, a lot of critics of Islam are bringing that up nowadays. So I think that's an important argument to refute. All right, let's just wait for somebody else. Yeah, I've seen many Muslims say that Yahweh is one of Allah's names, which I heavily disagree with. Yeah, that's I don't know where they're getting that from. Allah has 99 names according to Islamic theology. Yahweh is not one of them. I don't know where they're just trying to match the Quran with the Bible, or trying to match the Bible with the Quran, saying it's an agreement. It's not an agreement. Like there's a lot of things where the Quran says different things than the Bible, and the Bible says different things than the Quran. But this name Yahweh is not even Jesus never said Yahweh. If you read the New Testament, Jesus never said, or if you read the Greek New Testament, Jesus never says Yahweh. The name Yahweh is never mentioned in the New Testament, or at least the Greek New Testament, the original language, the language, New Testament manuscripts were written. So if Jesus never said Yahweh, why can't the Prophet Muhammad also not say Yahweh and still be a prophet? Like Christians believe Jesus is the Son of God. He's a prophet. He's God. He's the second part of the Trinity. And Jesus never ever said Yahweh. The disciples never said Yahweh. Paul never said Yahweh. Yahweh is never mentioned in the New Testament. So if the New Testament is, if the Quran is invalid for not saying Yahweh, then the New Testament is invalid for not saying Yahweh. So, these Christians are always inconsistent. But again, Yahweh is not mentioned in the Quran. It's not mentioned in the Hadith. It's not mentioned anywhere in Islamic texts, whether it's tafsir, Hadith, biography books, the Quran commentaries, etc., etc. So Yahweh is not mentioned anywhere in Islamic text, and it doesn't need to be, because Yahweh is not the name of God. Yahweh was the name of an ancient paganite god. So, yeah, you're right when you say I heavily disagree with Muslims trying to shove Yahweh in Islam when it shouldn't be. Like Yahweh shouldn't be in any Islamic text, because that's the name of a false pagan god. So so there's a reason why the Quran never mentions Yahweh. There's a reason why Islamic texts never mention Yahweh, because that's the name of a false pagan god that the Israelites stole from ancient Canaan or Edomite pagan mythology. So yeah, it's right not to say Yahweh as the name of God. It is absolutely proven with 100% certainty that Yahweh is the name of a pagan god. There's no way around this, at least from historical scholarship. So there's a reason why Islam never says that name. And it's interesting because Jesus himself never said Yahweh. When Jesus was on the cross, in the ending of the Gospel of Mark and the Gospel of Matthew, I don't know the exact verses, Jesus says, Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani, which means, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? He doesn't call on Yahweh. He says, Eli, Eli. Eli, Eli is an Aramaic term for either Elijah or God. So, Eli sounds a lot like Allah because Aramaic and Arabic are Semitic languages, right? So Jesus is saying something closer to the the Islamic name for God is than what the Hebrew Bible or what the Old Testament calls for God. It's true that Yahweh is mentioned all over the place in the Old Testament. Yahweh is mentioned 2,000 times in the Old Testament, I believe, or maybe even more. But Yahweh is not the only name of God. Elohim is a name of God. Eloha is a name of God. What else? Elohim, Eloha. There's another name, Hashem or Hishim. What else is there? So yeah, I mean Yahweh is not the only name of God. Elohim is the name of God. Eloha is the name of God in the Aramaic. You see this in the book of Daniel, which is originally written in Aramaic. You see this in the book of Job that God's name is Eloha. Eloha. What does Eloha sound like? It sounds like Allah in Arabic. So Eloha, Allah, they have like similarities there. So Yahweh is not the only name of God in the Old Testament. And of course, the New Testament does not give God a name. It doesn't give God a personal name. Jesus never said, my God's name. Jesus never said Yahweh's. He never called on Yahweh in the New Testament. So I think that's the strongest proof that Jesus did not think. The disciples of Jesus did not think Yahweh was the name of their God. I think that's the strongest proof that Jesus didn't think Yahweh was the name of his God. But that's just me. I don't know. But yeah, you do have a good point, Splash. Let's see if somebody else joins or if there's anybody else in the comments. Usually people join later, so let's just wait. Let's just see what happens. Let's see here. See, my live streams were pretty bad because I wasn't using StreamYard. I was just using YouTube's thing. So now I'm using StreamYard to improve the live streams. So let's see if anybody else is out there or anybody else has a comment or a question. I'll put it on the screen. I can finally do that now. Where you at, MANJ? You playing Star Wars on your PlayStation? We know you are. So you don't gotta hide it. All right, let's just wait to see if somebody else joins. Just give it a minute. Give it a minute or two. How do I only have one commentator here? Weird. I should have at least like 5 or 6 or something because there's always somebody on my YouTube channel. All right, let's just wait a little bit. Let's just see if somebody else joins. Okay. So now I'm doing high def or 720p. Okay. See if anybody else is on. Otherwise, I gotta end this. Do 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 do. This is just my waiting music while I wait for other people to join. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. All right, let's see here. It's got to be more people on. I mean, I don't know why there's only like one person commentating. There should be at least 5 or 6 people. I know this wasn't announced beforehand, but all right, Splash. Since you're the only one on here, I guess I gotta answer all your questions. So, what are your opinions on the scientific miracles in the Quran and the recent controversy with what Ali Dawah said about it? I'm gonna have to watch that video. I heard something about it, but I didn't watch that video, so I'm gonna have to watch that video before I comment on it. It says, "What are your opinions on the scientific miracles in the Quran and the recent controversy with what?" I have to again. I got to see that video. I heard about it, but I didn't see what Ali Dawah said, so I have to hear what he said before I comment. But brief comment on the scientific miracles on the Quran. I think it's true that there are only very few scientific miracles in the Quran. I think there's only like 2 or 3 scientific miracles in the Quran. You don't prove Islam by scientific miracles. You prove it by prophecies, the prophecies of the Quran, prophecies of the Prophet Muhammad, and the miracles of the Prophet Muhammad. These are the 3 ways you prove Islam, or you show evidence for Islam. I think the scientific accuracy or scientific miracles of the Quran is a very complicated issue that needs more time to develop, or it needs more people need to do some more research on the scientific accuracy of the Quran. There's only maybe 2 or 3 scientific miracles in the Quran that I can think of that people before the Prophet Muhammad didn't know about it. But a lot of those scientific miracles in the Quran, people knew about it before Islam, before, like embryology. People knew about it before the Quran. People knew about, a lot of the embryology stuff in the Quran. People knew about a lot of the, what do you call it? What else is there? Like the Big Bang, like people already knew about it before the Quran was revealed. So just because the Quran mentioned it doesn't mean it's miraculous. Like the Bible mentions the universe is expanding. Thousands of years before the Quran mentions it. So, a lot of those scientific statements in the Quran, it's found in Greek sources, the Bible, or it's found in, it's found in what do you call Greek physiology, or ancient Greek science, etc., ancient Roman science. So I don't think those arguments work that much anymore. I think in order to prove Islam, you need to prove it by the miracles of the Prophet Muhammad, the prophecies, and the prophecies of the Quran. So I think that's the better way to do it. That's just my 2 cents. But I need to watch that video of Ali Dawah before I comment on that video, because I don't want to comment before watching that video. But I do know that Ali Dawah made some statements and it did cause some controversy. But I have to watch that video before fully commenting on it. What do you think about the numerical miracles such as COVID-19 as proof of the Quran? That's too complicated. I don't know anything about that. I barely passed high school math, so I don't know anything about math. But I don't know. I think those are 2 complicated arguments. I think when people make those arguments, it's just when they go that route, or they, try to use science to prove the Quran, it's too complicated, or there's a lot more to it. Because Christians can say the same thing about the Bible. They can say, well, there's mathematical codes in the Bible that prove it's the word of God, or there's some supernatural authorship behind it. So you have a lot of, you can use that same argument with the Bible. So you get these things get more complicated, and they become more it's complicated to prove it, and it's complicated to refute the arguments against it. So I don't go that route because it's way too complicated to prove that there's numerical miracles, or it's more of a, it's not a sophisticated argument. It's not a let me. It's not a simple argument. It's a complicated argument that takes a lot of time and research, and people need to. Any Muslim apologist that makes that claim needs to refute the counter arguments against that claim. So I think it's kind of like a problematic thing to do the Code 19 miracle of the Quran. I think you should just stick to miracles, prophecies, and doctrine, or miracles, the problem with prophecies of the Quran, prophecy, the problem with the doctrine. I think those are the three things you should stick to if you want to prove Islam. But if you want to go into Code 19 miracles or mathematical miracles, you're digging yourself into a ditch. It's like, it's a complicated argument. It's a complicated argument to put forth, and it's a complicated argument to defend. It's easier to just prove Islam by the prophecies and the miracles. It's not, you don't have to overcomplicate it by math. It's by complicated math, allegedly in the Quran, etc. Oh, okay. All right. Well, it's like we don't have anybody else except Splash. So let's just wait a little bit. Let's see if there's somebody else who wants to join. And if not, we'll just wrap it up early. See here. Come on, where's everybody else? Let's see. I'm just waiting for the next question, the next comment, or whatever. I'll put it on the screen. So anybody else have anything else to say? Now's the time. All right, looks like there's nobody else here. One second. Okay, looks like there's nobody really here. Let's just wait a little bit. Maybe there's somebody else coming. I don't know. Oh, okay, you can. What do you think about using biblical prophecy for Muhammad? Well, I did some research on here, and I don't think the Prophet Muhammad is in the Old Testament or New Testament. That's just me. Other people will argue against this, saying Prophet Muhammad is the prophet in Deuteronomy 18, or he's the paraclete in the Gospel of John, chapter, what is it, 16? Gospel of John, chapter 15, 16, whatever. So, but again, these aren't good arguments because there's a lot of evidence against Muhammad's name in the Bible. For example, the prophet of Deuteronomy 18, according to the New Testament, is Jesus. It's not Muhammad. So again, like a lot of Christian apologists have debunked that issue. So I personally don't use the Prophet Muhammad's in the Prophet Muhammad prophesies in the Bible. I don't use that argument. I don't think that's a good argument. So no, I don't think it's a good argument for Islam because it's a very complicated issue, and the evidence is very strong that he isn't mentioned in the New Testament and the Old Testament. Because you read the Quran says that Allah revealed the Torah, Allah revealed the gospel. That's not the Old Testament, and that's not the New Testament that we have today. The Torah revealed to Moses probably predicted the Prophet Muhammad. The gospel revealed to Jesus probably predicted the coming of Muhammad. However, those revealed revelations are not the Old Testament and not the New Testament that we have today. It's some kind of revelation given to Moses and Jesus, which have been lost over time. So the gospel does not represent the New Testament, and the Torah does not represent the Old Testament or the Torah, the Genesis, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, Exodus. It doesn't. When the Quran's talking about the Torah, it's not talking about Genesis, Leviticus, Deuteronomy, etc. It's just talking about the Torah revealed to Moses. This is emphasized in Quran chapter 3, verse 3. It's in many other places. So no, I don't think Muhammad is in the Old Testament or the New Testament. I don't think he's mentioned there. He's mentioned the original Torah and the original gospel, which are lost, which have been lost over time. So I don't think that's a good argument. No. All right, we've been going on for 26 minutes. We only have one commentator, so I think this is a good place to stop because I was hoping for a little bit more people, but looks like there's one person. I'm answering all his questions. And, but, this is kind of on me because I didn't announce this beforehand. This is kind of done randomly, so I think that we should, yep, I think I should just wrap it up right now. So thank you so much for watching, Splash. Thank you for your questions and your comments. Hopefully tomorrow I'll probably do this on Saturday or something. I'll announce it beforehand so more people know about it. More people can ask questions and I can answer those questions on this live stream. So thank you so much for whoever watched and have a good night.